Hey everyone, and welcome to Fermentation Friday. For today, I was gonna do a quick kombucha gear guide and basically just let you know how I've been enjoying my kombucha brewing vessel and my Mortier Pilon crock and the stuff that I think is working really well, what I'd recommend other people to get to do for brewing kombucha themselves, and some of the things that maybe I would like to get for Christmas. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. In regards to stuff for doing ferments coming up for next summer. So I wasn't gonna drag out my kombucha brewing vessel just because it's filled with kombucha and I don't really wanna, carry it around and spill it all over myself. But this is the box for it and I love this vessel. It's been working out really, really great. I love having the spout on it for doing the continuous brew. It makes it super simple for filling up my bottles. I basically just place the opening of my bottle right where the spout comes out and I don't have to use a funnel or anything. Whereas if I was doing it just in a jar, I'd have to pour it out and then put it into a funnel, something that'd make it so it can kind of fill easily. But the spout, it's not a super fast flow, so I can fill up these bottles. I don't have to worry about it overflowing. And it works really well. The vessel itself, I've had no issues with it at all. It's, still looks great, which is the main reason why I got it. And the lid on the top, I love how it has the mesh fabric covering, so the lid just comes on and off. It's super easy and you don't have to worry about getting the fabric in there or, it just makes it so much easier. I know one thing that people were a little bit concerned about when I saw reviews before I purchased the kombucha vessel is that they didn't like that there was like plastic on it. Quickly show you this. It's just a decorative piece and it comes off so you can wash underneath it. If stuff pours in underneath there, you take it off, wash the pieces separately. But you can see on the crock here, it is all glass. It's not like it's a half plastic, half glass container. The only thing that is plastic that is part of the actual vessel itself is the lid. So I've been super happy with this continuous brew vessel. I would highly recommend it. The number one reason why I bought it was I knew it was going to be sitting on my counter and I wanted something that looked good on my counter because my kitchen is so small, and it definitely does that. And beyond that, it brews really nicely. So this is something that looks good and is functional. I highly recommend it to anyone else. I also love the size on this vessel. It's 5 liters. So because of that, I usually pour off about 7 bottles. These are 500 milliliter bottles. I pour off 7 of these when I bottle up my brew, and my kombucha brews in about a week in the summer. So I found that was ideal. Me and Ian would split one of these every day, and that was more than enough kombucha for us. When I first started doing the kombucha, other than the vessel, I didn't buy anything. I just used what I had around the house. And because of that, kind of the pop lid bottles that I had were a bunch of these IKEA ones, and they're very large. They're over a liter, and the top of the bottle really doesn't seal very well. And I was having just continuous issues with getting any sort of carbonation on my kombucha. So one of the first things that I went and invested in after I'd been brewing it for a little bit was to get some nice snap top bottles, and these are definitely worth the money. I really, really like them. Obviously, if you're a beer drinker, you could just switch to the Groscht beer for a little bit and get a stock of these bottles, but I went and I bought an actual case, 12 of these, and so far it's been the perfect amount because, like I said, I do 7 that get filled up every week, and then they need a few days to have the carbonation build up before I start drinking them. But I always have 7 bottles that are empty by the time I need to do my brew again, so that's worked out really well. But when you're deciding how many bottles you want on this, definitely it's gonna have to do with how much you drink as well. And I love the size on this. This is 500 mils. That's, what is that, like a pint? So this is the perfect amount. Me and Ian don't drink a ton of this in one sitting. We usually split a bottle, and that's kind of just perfect cup for us. And then I don't have these like half drank bottles that are going flat. You know, I open it up, I use it up in that same day. So I really, really like these. I was also a little concerned about the pressure building up, and you know, you hear all these nightmare stories of the bottles bursting. So I wanted to make sure that I had high quality bottles that were actually designed for pressure to build up in the bottles. So I was pretty careful and looked into a lot of reviews before I bought them, and been super happy with these so far. And I have the link below to this specific bottle, so you don't have to go and do the research to try to find one that is going to be safe. This was the brand that was highly recommended. I've been having pretty non-stop issues with getting the carbonation, and since I've gotten these bottles and gotten comfortable with letting them sit for, you know, sometimes up to 5 days to build up the carbonation, I've been getting fizzy kombucha pretty consistently. This one should be fizzy. It was in the fridge, so it might be a bit less, but let's see. Yeah, so you can kind of see when they're cold, the fizz isn't quite as explosive, but you can kind of see all that fizz in there. That right there is why I love these bottles. The IKEA bottles, though, do have their use. If you have like cheap dollar store snap top bottles, they're really great for storing the vinegars, because if there is any activity still going on, you don't have to worry, because these seal so badly that they basically self-burp themselves. So I have been enjoying having these for storing the vinegars, but because they are going to let out any pressure, it also means you're not going to get the carbonation building up in them. So if you want fizzy kombucha, I highly recommend getting some good bottles. I'm not too much of a snob, so I haven't been too picky about the tea that I used so far. I had a bunch of just old black tea in the house, so I use that up. But now that I do need to go and buy more tea, I am going to be buying loose leaf organic tea most of the time, unless all of a sudden I get another half box of this black tea back to use up. But I found that since I've started using the nicer tea, the kombucha has brewed a bit better, and I don't notice too much of a flavor, partially because I let my kombucha get quite sour and I'm flavoring it with fruits and stuff. But I like having the loose tea. It's just, you know, it's making less waste, and it's just nice. So, and the one other piece of gear that I recommend is, if you're gonna have these bottles, you want a bottle brush. There's no way you're getting your hand in there to clean the bottom, and especially when you're adding stuff in, like I've had bits of ginger that get stuck in these, so you know, you want the bottle brush to get in there, clean them out. You don't want these to start getting gross, because that's going to affect what you're going to be brewing, and you know, no one wants to grow mold. So far I've been super happy with the kombucha. It's been really enjoyable to brew it, and it has me excited for trying out some alcohols, some beer, some wine, that type of thing. And I am gonna eventually try, you know, some like proper ginger beers and stuff, but it's been so tasty that I've been having so much fun brewing it as well as drinking it that, you know, as I've said before, I've really doubled down on it. And if anyone out there is watching this because they just like drinking kombucha and they haven't tried doing it themselves yet, go for it. It's super simple. I suck at the ferment so far. Like, I've been failing on pickles, but I've consistently been able to get, you know, drinkable kombucha. The worst, I suck at it too, and the worst case scenario was it's a little bit flatter than the store-bought ones. So, you know, go for it. The gear, you don't have to go this crazy. You know, this is stuff that's nice to have, but start simple, you know, or perfect Christmas gift, right? Go for it. It's gonna save you money in the long run. It's crazy how much kombucha is in the store. Now, when it comes to the Mortier Pilon Crock that I got, I don't have quite as much good things to say about it. I've been a little bit disappointed in it. I like the size. It's the same 5-liter size. I really like the weight. It's nice and heavy. It's perfect size for the crock, and you know, it looks awesome. That's like super cool. Way better than you know, just a plain ceramic piece. So I love the design details, which is the reason why I purchased from this company in the first place. But in the way that it having a plastic lid is awesome for the kombucha brewing jar, the crock having a plastic lid makes it kind of, you know, useless. It has this like water seal to it, but I just don't feel that this plastic lid closes on tight enough to create an actual airlock. So it doesn't matter if you have a water seal airlock bubbling up on the top of the lid if all the gas is just leaking out the sides. When this is screwed on, it doesn't feel tight on like the way a jar does. Like jars, when they're on there, you can feel that nothing's getting out. You can feel how tight on there it is. When this is on there, just, it feels like it's closed up very flimsily. And because it's plastic, it can hold contaminants actually inside the material. If this was a metal, I'd be able to, you know, clean this up really easily. I wouldn't have issues of, how do I sterilize this piece of plastic? You know, it's kind of like the only way to sterilize this, if I get mold growing in my container, is to bleach it, but then it's plastic, so it's gonna hold on to some of the bleach flavor, which is then potentially gonna flavor your ferment. So I've been kind of disappointed with how well this has worked out. It hasn't been completely useless for me because I have been lately using it to do my apple cider vinegar, as I keep experimenting on trying to get that right. And it, you know, it's perfect. It's big. I can put the weight in to hold down the apples, you know, and then you want the apple cider vinegar somewhat open anyways. So, you know, I am still using this. I am still happy that I have this. I'm not gonna like throw this in the garbage or something crazy, but in the future, I think the better way to ferment, for me personally, for the pickles, is to use the mason jars. There's so many great mason jar fermenting tools where they just are basically airlocks that attach on to the top of your jar. They have tons of weights that'll fit inside a wide mouth mason jar, and the nice thing about when you're actually doing the fermenting in the jar is when you're done, you just take the fermenting gear off, put your lid on, and it's ready to pop in the fridge. You don't even have to repackage it from your big crock into a smaller crock to store it. It's just ready to go. And I'm sure that I'm similar to most families in the fact that there's only so much of one pickle that I need. You know, I don't need to have an entire fridge full of, you know, 5 liters of the beans like I did this summer. You know, if you actually do it in these 1 liter containers, it's the perfect size. You don't have to have a crazy amount going at once. You can kind of, you know, stagger your ferments a little bit better. And to get started with that kind of gear it's pretty affordable. My number 1 wish list item, Ian, if you're watching this, what you should buy me for Christmas would be to get a Kraut Source fermenting kit. It has a spring that pushes down on your stuff inside the jar, and then it's all stainless steel. It has the water lock and everything, and it looks super awesome and, you know, very high quality, very nice, kind of a buy it for life tool, but it is a little bit pricier, so that's, I want to be a nice gift. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it would be a nice gift. But there also are some cheaper alternatives that can get you going and, you know, get you set up to be able to do a bunch of jars at once. So for me personally, I think that's what I would like to go with in the future, you know, until I build up my fermenting skills to the point that I do want these bigger crocks. And when I go to do that, I'm probably gonna want to get a ceramic, you know, German style crock, rather than go for another one of these. I like it, I'm happy that I have it, but if I was going to purchase again, I would like to purchase something different. So if you're interested in any of the stuff that I've been talking about here, I have a list of affiliate links down in the description of the video. If you do decide to shop any of those links, I get a little bit of a commission, so, you know, I really appreciate, but they're also there just to give you an idea of the stuff that I'm talking about. A lot of this stuff you can get locally, especially things like the brewing gear to go along with the kombucha container. That stuff can be found at a local beer and wine shop. So, you know, you don't have to buy this stuff from the link specifically. You'll be able to find it on your own, but it's a resource for you. And I'd love to know what you guys have on your Christmas list and, you know, how you're making not so subtle hints, nudge, nudge, the people in your life to get you the things that you want. So, you know, let me know. Are you guys making a fermenting wish list? And happy fermenting.